Hi everybody, this is Tor Storley and I am back with another video. In this video, I think I just want to do a very quick overview over some of the new features in the latest version of DuckDB that came out yesterday. As you can see on my calendar down here, it's the 10th today. So for me, I just discovered they came out. I thought it was going to be released on the 12th, but I was wrong. So it came out yesterday, and there's already a blog out there about kind of things that you expect to see in this latest version. So in this video, I would just want to quickly go over a couple of things in there. I will not cover everything because, for one, I don't have the environments needed in order to cover everything. I'll cover some of the very basic stuff. For me, to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit disappointed, but I know there's a lot of features in there that I don't use, but other people use, so it's great for them. So let's open up the blog. If you go to duckdb.org and you go to resources and you click on the blog, the first one you're going to see is the DuckDB 1.5.0, which is the latest version that came out yesterday. So if you look at this, it's called, I don't even know if I should pronounce this, variegata, something like that. Oh, wait a minute, it's a duck, I'm sorry. It's a duck in New Zealand, I guess. The Paradise Shell Duck. So that's the code name, okay? The major features that I will highlight in this video deals with the CLI, okay? There's a few other features that are listed here, and I'll point them out. You can see on the menus over here, they point it out. In order to get this, you can go to the installation page for DuckDB, and it's pretty straightforward. If you've done this before, you should have no trouble getting this to work. You can go to installation here. If you want to use the command line, use the command line. What I tend to do is just download this thing and then extract it all into a folder of mine. This is where I kind of dump the zip file that I just downloaded into, and then I extract it from there, and it goes into this file, and that's the latest version of DuckDB right there. So that's the 1.5.0 version. And of course, I have older versions sitting around here in case I need them for whatever reason. Okay, so that's how you can get the files, the install files. And if you use a different system, you have to follow the commands they give you in order to install it. So here's the new features, command line client. Okay, that's kind of where I'm focused most of my stuff. What you can do is you can use highlight colors dot command. Now I'll come back to this in my code when I show you the demonstration. But for now, you can just look at what I'm showing you quickly here on the screen. So there's dynamic stuff here you can use. Dynamic prompts. I haven't tested this one yet. There's this to show the columns of an individual table. Use the describe statement. So if you hook up this particular database, you can say describe ducks. One thing you're going to find out is when you load a database now in the CLI, the database name will show up first, and then the D will show up second. So the dot tables command, as you can see here, will basically give you the schema of the tables. So it shows every table and what's in every table. Now, whether that's super useful or not. The other thing here is that you can also query back the result of your last query using an underscore like this. So as you can see, there's just an underscore. So in other words, if you say from ducks where extinct year is not null, it shows you this as the result. Then you can simply say from underscore, because that was your last query. So it keeps it in memory. So you can see it here. It's the same result as you had above. There's also a pager here, as you can see. So if you query more than 50 rows in the result, it could break it into pages for you. So here, for example, you're setting the max rows to be equal to 100. And then you say, hey, query everything from 0 to 100, meaning the number of rows. And then in Linux and Windows, you can use the page up and page down to see the results. So it can break up the results so you don't get these super long scrolling pages to see the output. Then there's something called a peg parser, which is kind of like an autocomplete, if you will, or suggestion, like an IntelliSense style. I'll show you an example of this in my demonstration. So it kind of reminds me of IntelliSense in a more crude terminal way of doing it, but that's kind of what it's doing. So also notice that this is an experimental parser. You see that? So it's not fully developed yet. Another big thing is this variant type. So now you can declare it as a variant. So in other words, the variant, it's stored like a typed binary data. Okay? So it's almost like a mix of data. So you basically can put 42 in, and whatever the binary format is for 42, you can also put text strings in here as a variant. So whatever the binary format is for that one. It leads to better compression, it says here. Yeah, okay. You can try this out for yourself. I'm not quite sure how to use this yet. So here you can see you can run some select statements and figure out the type of data. So in other words, variant type of data. And the 42, as you can see, turned out to be an int 32. And the hello world returns a varchar. So it's basically a mixed column storage, I guess, but it's stored as binary data. Here you're actually saving a struct as an object, as you can see here. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe that has some usage. So I'll have to test it out further before I can put some final thoughts on that one. And now, of course, there's a function you can extract that out of there as well. Read DuckDB function is another feature. Now, I don't understand this one because I don't know how to query for this. I try to find an more in-depth explanation here, but I haven't found it yet. So I'm going to pass up on this one. I leave that up to you to try to figure this one out. There's Azure rights. Of course, I don't have Azure, so I'm not going to be able to cover that. There's an ODB scanner, scanner. And you can see here, you can follow this example here where you create a connection to an Oracle driver and whatever that is. So I assume that you can use ODBC to query directly from these databases. So in this case, it looks like you're connecting to a Oracle database. Major changes, Lakehouse updates. All of DuckDB's supported Lakehouse formats has received some updates. Again, this is not something I looked into yet, and I'm not quite sure what to look for here. It says Delta Lake, it says Iceberg. So in case you work with those things, you might want to dig into some of those. Lambda syntax, it looks like they are changing this because of JSON using symbols like this. They're running into trouble. So I guess they're trying to change their Lambda syntax by first giving a warning message, and then depending on which version you're in, it looks like when you get to DuckDB 2.0, they will disable that single arrow syntax by default. So it has a gradually change to it, I guess, 1.5. And then when you get to 2.0, they will change it. DuckDB 2.0 is supposed to be released in September of this year, 2026. So I hope there is some major changes. There is spatial extension changes. So if you're into spatial, which used to be very big for me many years ago, I used to work with spatial databases, and I'm very familiar with all this stuff here. I'm very familiar with geometry versus geography, the measurements, how you do the lat long calculations, how you convert from degrees to latitude, longitude, decimal conversions. If you're interested in all that stuff, my very, very first video, some 5 years ago, something about SQL Server, spatial data, video number 1, I go through all of this and I explain to you how it works. So check that video out if you're interested in spatial conversions and spatial information in general, and how, things like the WGS84 coordinate system works, and origins and so forth. How to read the map, how you read the quadrants of the Earth, and how you figure out the lat long. And geometry now has become a built-in type. So now actually it's part of the core, where you can actually save it as a geometry type inside DuckDB. And this is one that I know very well. Well-known binary. I used to do conversions on this all the time in SQL Server back in, 2010, 2015 timeframe. There's some optimization tricks, aggregates. You can see there's several optimization as far as aggregates goes. And then there are some distribution changes. So anyways, I think that's the brunt of it. And you can always read through the details yourself. So why don't we just go out and show a couple of the things that is visibly easy to understand, like the color schemes, etc. So let me minimize everything and open up my DuckDB. So I'm going to bring it up. This is the latest version, as you can see. It's 1.5.0 Variegata, which is, I guess, the duck's name in New Zealand. Notice it says memory D. So now I'm going to open up this database. And notice now it says stocks D because it has opened up this stocks database. So you kind of have an idea exactly where you are instead of just seeing the word D like it used to be. So let's just try a couple of commands. Notice there's colors already here, right? So I'm going to just type in like show tables. And you can see here's the usual suspects, my stock data in different formats. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just query one of the tables so you can see it. So let me hit enter. And here's the table. And again, you've seen this before. It's this box featured representation where you have the column names and then the type of data types they are. And then you have in each column, you have what is varchar, timestamp, and so forth. You have some information. Now you can make this look prettier, and that's what we're going to do here. First of all, I'm going to show you how you can find the colors. So I'm going to say dot display colors. And notice the beauty of it is it actually displays the colors along with the name. And that's very cool because then you can pick just the one you want. So if you like the yellow ones, you can say, oh, wheat 1, yellow 2, khaki 1, yellow 3, depending what you like. Dark violet 2, you have Indian red 3, and so forth. So you can pick whatever color you want, okay? So that comes in very handy. So what I did, I went into the documentation, which was kind of hard to find. So what I had to do, let me just see if I can do it again, maybe. I went in and I went to the documentation here, like getting started or whatever. Then I just drilled into one of these places and I went into the search button here and I said highlight colors, okay? So what I did this. I just pasted it in because that's the command we're using. And then it shows dot command. You see that? Highlight colors. That's the one I really want. So notice here it says result syntax highlight section. So when I click there, it scrolls me down here. So that's how I found it. So as you can see, it's under syntax highlighters. Configure the query syntax. You can shut it off like this. You can turn it on like this. Then I looked at this example here. One I saw was this temporal value because I didn't know what I can highlight or not. And it turns out that this temporal value is like when you have timestamps and dates and so forth. This is when you have numbers. When you have column names, you can, whether you want it bold and underline and yellow, etc. And you can also highlight the columns in whatever color you want. The layout, I didn't try this one, so I'm not sure what that does. So let me go back into my stuff here. Let me clear this out. I just created a few of these guys. When you see them now, you can see I'm saying dot highlight underscore colors. Then I found out what I'm used to from Oracle was I always made the comments green and bold. Now, we only made comments and strings and keywords and stuff, of course. But here you can do different things. So you can say column type, you can make yellow. Column name, I'm using this light cyan one, and I'm making bold and underline. Numeric values, meaning all the data that are numeric in the output, I want to be wheat 1. All the strings, like the symbols in the stock table, I want them to be orange 1. And the temporal value, which is the timestamps, I want it to be aquamarine 2. So I hit enter and that's what it does. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste in. Notice the comments, like we said above, we want it to be green and bold. And you can see here is the comment. And now when I hit from stocks, you can see it comes back with all the names of the columns, which are light cyan 1, bold underline. You see that? And then you have the column type, yellow, which is, I guess, this color. I could have probably made it a little more standout. And then you have the string values is orange 1. That's all the symbols. And the temporal value, which is the timestamp, you can see it is aquamarine 2. So it's a nicer way of displaying your data inside the CLI. You can always shut it off by doing this command here, where you say highlight results off. The other thing I want to show you is something called the PEG parser. And the PEG parser is basically the IntelliSense. So let me show you what I mean. So we have the stocks database attached. So if I say select S, right? So S in this case should represent a column. And if I hit tab, you can see it suggests symbol. When I hit space and I say F and I hit tab, you can see it produces from. And then I can say yet another command like S and hit tab. But notice now you got options because there's more than one that starts with S. So as you can see, there's all kinds of things. Now, this is not very intuitive though, because it gives you keywords as well as table names. So what I can do is I can say select from, if you right click on your mouse in Windows, you get this. One thing I noticed that I don't like is that it leaves that S remaining. So you have to remove it like this. And then of course you can go to the end here and say where and hit tab, W. And here you can see you have all these keywords. And the one you probably want is this where clause, right? So why did it pick this? So I guess what I'm saying here is I really don't think this is ready for production, okay? Notice what it does. It just doesn't give me what I'm looking for. If you say from S like this and you hit the tab. Now, what I did before, I tried to select it directly with my mouse and right click it. But I guess what you can do is tab through it. So if you look here now, I'm going to go, and I think it starts over here in the beginning. So here's that first one. And then it goes, so it goes row-wise, it looks like. So now it's SP500 daily, monthly, and then I think it's going to jump down to the next row. So if you want to grab this last one down here, you got to keep tapping and tapping and tapping and so on. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of slow. It's faster to write it out yourself. Anyways, I just want to point that out. Okay, that's just a couple of things. This video is running long already, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Hopefully next time we'll see a lot more interesting stuff. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like my videos, please give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. That'd be fantastic. I look forward to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.